Leading up to Shazam's release, the predictions were looking pretty grim. Analysts said that it would do even worse than the first movie, which was pretty successful, but it looks like they were right because the box office numbers are really low, and even the director has admitted defeat only 24 hours after release. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube memberships. So I wanted to start off with this Deadline article. Shazam! Fury of the Gods doesn't fly with moviegoers at 30 million opening. Here is why. New Line / DC Shazam! Fury of the Gods hit tracking 4 weeks ago with a low 35 million projection. It was shocking and not shocking to rival distributors. Shocking because in a spring full of franchise tentpoles, many of which are seeing record opening domestic highs, how can a DC property like Shazam not keep up with the pack? Not shocking in that, well, it's a goofy old Shazam. Now, I personally felt pretty mixed about this film. First of all, I feel like they didn't even really market it all that well. I did see some advertisements on YouTube here and there, and of course, I saw people talking about it because I'm in this sphere on social media and I look for these types of topics, but otherwise, I didn't really see a lot of hype surrounding this film, but the trailers, in my opinion, were extremely lackluster. I did enjoy the first Shazam film, and this movie was okay. I definitely do not agree with the current user scores. I definitely lean more towards the critic scores, which we will talk about in a minute. I thought it was like a solid 60, maybe 65% movie, but it wasn't any better than that. And yes, I do think a part of that is the fact that it is goofy. A lot of people, when they think of these superhero films, they think of action and occasional violence and things being just larger than life and the stakes are higher than ever. But in Shazam, from what we saw and understood about this movie, it wasn't that way. And I think the goofy can work, but it only goes so far with audiences. The movie in general was boring. The Sisters of Atlas seemed underwhelming, and although Zachary Levi is a good actor, he tried too hard to act like what he thought a teenager would act like, and it didn't turn out well. And while a lot of it was goofy, like I mentioned, it was aimed towards kids but on another level, and it was just way too extreme. It says, now while it's possible for a movie to start low in its projections on tracking and swell as the studio spends the bulk of a Pix P&A in the final lap before the opening, the outlook didn't budge, and now the sequel produced by Warner Brothers, newly installed DC co-head Peter Safran, is looking at a 30 million start in the US/Canada, off 44% from the first 2019's movie of 53.5 million. Yes, this movie is actually hitting the projected numbers, which unfortunately for DC were not positive. It also says that the Friday numbers were at 11.7 million, which is 42% off from the first pick's 20.3 million Friday plus previews. And even if Shazam 2 benefits from family maintenance and builds up to a 35 to 40 million opening, which no one is expecting, it is still off from the first pick stateside start. And while this portion was written yesterday, when we didn't have the Saturday numbers, looking at the overall opening now, it earned 65.5 million in the film's worldwide opening weekend, which means that something like Morbius, which was critically panned, earned 84 million in the film's worldwide box office opening weekend, meaning something like Morbius even beat Shazam! Fury of the Gods, because this is not just in the US, this is not just domestically, and hearing a movie making 65 million worldwide is pretty awful. I would maybe expect that for domestic only. And this is probably why the director is already admitting defeat. I think that this is hilarious. But as you can see, Warner Brothers hasn't exactly thrown in the full might of its marketing power behind Shazam: Fury of the Gods, but you'd at least expect the sequel to a popular superhero smash hit to at least come close to debuting in the same sort of range as its predecessor, which is true. I think we always expect sequels to at least do what the first film did, but this is not gonna hit that. Sadly, though, the opposite is proving to be true for David F. Sandberg's return to the DCU, with projections already being revised from a 3-day opening somewhere in the 40 million range to a much more tepid 30. Of course, though, it says he is handling it in a fashion about as diplomatic and dignified as possible, but it can't be nice for him to know that Fury of the Gods never stood a chance at succeeding to the same levels of its predecessor, regardless of how it turned out. The director says that he was ready for the DC sequel's low early return, saying, "It's not like this comes as a surprise. I saw where this was heading a long time ago. I'll be alright though. I got paid all of my money up front." So he didn't even really expect this film to do that good, but he still made it, and he still made a paycheck off of it. And right now, the scores for this film are looking pretty solid user-wise. As you can see, all audience is sitting right around an 80%, but the all critic is at a 54%. I would say that the score that I would give this film is right in the middle, but it's good that audiences are at least enjoying it, though an 80% still isn't great and it still isn't perfect. I'll judge the audience score more in like a week or so, because the problem with first reviews like this are clearly this movie didn't make a lot of money, it didn't get a lot of people to go and see it, so of course all of the Marvel fans went to see it. So once more just general audiences have watched it, that's when I'll really judge the score. But yeah, an 80% obviously isn't terrible. But reading some of the reviews, people are saying things like, got lost in the story, some of the characters were lame, fell asleep. I have to agree, a lot of the characters lacked in this movie. You also have extremely corny. A little corny is expected, but this was over the top. Taste the Rainbow quoting commercials, not very good. Primarily like 3 and 4 stars here. Most of the charm from the great first film is sadly gone. It was enjoyable, kid-friendly, action and humor. People are saying things like, "I enjoyed the movie very much, it held my attention throughout." Meh. It's not bad, not amazing. I feel like, yes, a big problem was the first movie did well. It was entertaining, but it was also family friendly, so it worked. The humor and the jokes just really hit for general audiences. But with this movie, they tried to replicate it and they weren't able to. I don't know how different the team behind the scenes were from the directors and writers and producers, but clearly the new batch of individuals could not do what the first batch did, and it really, really hurt this film. But overall, right now, the scores, while they're looking more positive user-wise, it's not making the money that DC was probably hoping. It is bombing at the box office. I can't really say that I am all that surprised, but I wonder what the week-on-week drop-off will be next week. I'm sure that we're going to see a massive tank, and these numbers are already pretty pathetic. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.